I'm so glad I'm not doing it. Right, so we're down the road. I've got helpers. Helpers. Young, fit, healthy helpers. This is the mess from last week when I got stuck. And generally as well, there's just a thin, as I say, a thin layer of turf and it's really slidey. Can't get any traction on it. It's Saturday, we're here and we're going to camp. And the weather is a bit damp. It's not ideal, but that's okay. So on the cards today is this, as much of this as we can do without getting really fed up with it, and then we'll stop. And then we're down with a trailer and we've got a lawnmower and trailer on the trailer. And we're going to go along, they are in the lawnmower, it's not a lawnmower, it's a ride-on tractor. They're going to go along there and pick up all the wood that we cut, and they're going to bring it back here and we're going to store it up there. It's really just an excuse to get them to use the ride-on mower because it's good fun. Look at this, is what I like to see. This is much easier than me doing it. I might just go inside and have a biscuit. When you're towing the trailer and there's stuff in it, you've got a lot more mass, so therefore more momentum. Correct. So it'll take even longer to slow down. Important things are that pedal, obviously the steering wheel for which direction you're going. There's one reverse gear. It's a sequential gearbox like a rally car. So basically there's 5 forward speeds and there's like 1 backward speed. The throttle is here, you just leave it set. There's no accelerator pedal, you just leave it set. And the key here will turn it off if you go all the way anti-clockwise. The starting is you get on it. So Daniel, when you get foot down on that pedal, that is you need to have your foot hovering over that all times, okay? And you want to stop, or well in this case slow down, you get your foot on that. If there's any panic, if you're heading for something that you don't want to run over, Sam for example,
I would not turn it.
No. The throttle down there, just going to pull that, no, see the throttle? Pull that half up, just half up. A bit further down, that'll do. Right, and then you're going to turn the key, you'll go and off, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to go, you've got neutral, now if you look down, see when this is there, that's neutral, okay? Back 1 click, go back 1 click, that's reverse. Come off a bit, you'll get the hang of it and you can do wheelies and stuff, but come off that slowly. Okay, good. Okay, and then you're going to go, I would go like go into, keep going. In my mind's eye, I thought that would look better down here. It looks a bit.
Yeah.
Turn around, you on drift to the right.
Good for it. Oh, that was close. Oh. There we go. Foot on that. Oh, okay. What we're going to do is we're going to go backwards first. So into reverse. And then come forward. So that'll do. Okay, stop. So stick it in 5th gear, and down the track. And be careful when you're turning, slow down for turning. He does suit it, doesn't he? It's not quite as windswept and interesting as a quad bike.
Not quite. Nearly.
First turning. Ooh, that was close. Look at that boingy thing at front, that is embarrassing. Yeah, okay. That was a good safety briefing, but I'm going to just do a bit more. Be right back. Fifth gear, Bill. We've decided that you suit it best.
You'll be the pilot. amazing.
We're going to see what Thomas might actually. Keep going. Keep this on that pedal, hovered over it when you need to stop. An amazing, like, 40-point turn. Someone want to go down and help him?
Right.
He is literally going backwards and forwards.
Oh, there you go.
Do you not just want to just like look after him? Give him something. There we go. Here he comes. In Thomas's defence, we sent him up round the other side of our makeshift dump there, and that ground over there is a lot more uneven than I thought it was. I just went round there and nearly fell off it, so I shouldn't have sent him up round there. However, there was no excuse for not managing to miss that massive divot. Company vehicle. There you go. So you need to be super careful when you're reversing with the trailer because it's a completely different way of doing things.
I've played the same game before, so it works.
So you just need to be careful, so that's fine, good job. You look so special, Thomas, you really do. Put your foot down before you change gear.
Oh.
You can't change gear when it's running, it does not work. So we'll go inside. I'm freezing as well, so because I'm old, and you know, old people are always cold. So we'll go inside and have a look at Thomas's muscles. Look at the state of you, man. Are you using steroids? Are you on steroids or something?
Yeah, I do
This is a safe space. You can tell us if you are.
Yeah.
Do you need an intervention?
Yeah.
You look like Arnold Moninator. That's terrible. That's the worst. We're camping down here and we are in tents, so I'll go down a wee second. I've got a new tent. I'm not entirely 100% sold on it, but we'll see how that goes. We're going to let this go out because we're not going to sit here. It's not too bad outside, it's not raining, so I think if we're camping, if you're in a tent, to be warm and indoors and then to go to a cold tent is not good. At least if you're outside and round a campfire already somewhat acclimatised to the weather, to the cold. The temperature is supposed to dip to single figures tonight. And get that fired up tonight, I think. So the young folk are just in standard hike tents, these things over here. These are okay hike tents, they don't go up very well. The poles on them are awfully tight. But this is a One Tigris Bungalow 2.0, and I got it because I would often just sleep under a tarp, so get a lean-to tarp. And that's essentially what that is, it's just a bit swish, it's got zips. So that whole side, I had it hinged up, I had it up and on poles, and that whole side is open, and under that there's like a big net door. It's like the biggest door to a tent you can get. So another complaint I have about hike tents is the doors are far too small. I am not huge particularly, and I'm not massively, you know, clumsy and not agile, but just sometimes you feel like getting out of a hike tent, it just reminds me of getting out of a swimming pool. There's no sexy, not that doesn't sound right. What I mean to say is there's no classy, stylish way to get out of a hike tent. It's like when you're getting out of a pool and there's no ladders, and you have to and you can't like get your leg up, your foot up, and you have to like just sort of clamber out. That's what hike tents are like. That whole side opens up, and you can have that up on poles, and underneath you can have a wee fire there. obviously be very careful not to set the tent on fire. The downside is that the ground sheet's a bit on the skinny side and it's single skinned, so there will probably be a condensation model. I would say that's a summer tent, although I have tarped in snow. What do you think of that? Well, we'll find out tonight, won't we? Basically, if I have a terrible night. Well, I mean, I'm camping, so I'm going to have a terrible night. I hate camp, I don't know why I do this.
Convenience.
Something occur overnight, you're making less sense than usual.
No, they're making less sense than usual. They're saying that it doesn't make sense to keep, you know, trousers.
So last night was just the usual levels of discomfort when you're camping. I would say though, that tent that I've got, this new tent, this new to me tent, that's new, I bought it new. This new tent is better than a hike tent. It's easier to get into and out of. There's a bit more space in it. The ridge is higher, much higher. You can sit up comfortably in it. And crucially, the door's huge. The door is basically one entire side of the tent, which is kind of why I bought it. And also, you could, it's only £100, £110. It wasn't an expensive tent. The other hike tents we use, I think, were about 250. Single skin, there wasn't an issue with condensation. The ground wasn't ideal. And I've got one, it's an Amazon special, a Veil Howl sleeping mat. It's an inflatable thing and it's quite thick. And it's got octagonal sections and it's green. Veil Howl, one of these made up Amazon names. And it's not very good. It doesn't hold enough air pressure to keep you off the ground. So the heavier parts of your body, I think you know where I'm coming from, just push down and actually touch the ground and you get a cold spot. But other than that, this is actually quite a good tent and I would actually probably favour it. Actually another thing I just want to remember is it didn't come with enough pegs. And then if you buy the tent, it doesn't come with any poles. You're supposed to use walking poles. The idea or the thought process is that you would have walking poles because you'd be walking. Also, this tent can be pitched between two trees, so you can have like a ridge line and that can hold it up. And these poles, these can be used to hold this up, this thing here, which is kind of a huge big front sort of on. And the key thing is this to me is just the, I mean, that just is so much more space, and if it's a nice night, you can just have that whole thing open and you can have the fly screen down, you know, the midgie screen down, but everything else can be totally open. Maybe get two folk in there. Perhaps instead of buying hike tents, what you could do is buy like two of these for every one hike tent you buy, and you get two folk in there, is you could pitch them either face to face with the awnings together and have a pretty interesting sort of communal space to sit out if the weather's not terrible, which it, to be fair, usually is in Scotland. But the point is that if you had three, you could have them in a U shape and you could have the awnings all linked, and it would be a different, you have a fire in the middle, obviously with the awnings back out the way, and it would be a different way to kind of camp, a more communal way to camp. One of the things we've always said about hike tents, we by the way used to camp in Icelandics, so when you were going out and round doing the rounds, checking on the kids, making sure that no one had been abducted or no one had run away, you could just, like, the laced up doors of an Icelandic allowed you just to pull them aside and just peer in a strictly non-creepy way and just count bodies, make sure they were all there. But with a hike tent you can't, it's like two zips and you have to crawl in, and that is probably a bit of an imposition. I'd give it an 8 out of 10 because it doesn't come with poles. There's enough guy lines, but it doesn't come with enough pegs to properly kind of get it guyed out. The pegs that it does come with are good quality, but there's not enough of them. We did do a fair bit of work yesterday, but that road, it's not going to get fixed by hand. It just isn't. We need a digger to begin with, and we need to fix the drainage. Every time it rains, the drains are overflowing. It overflows muck, mud and tree, pine needles and all the rest of it onto the road, and that mulches down and just puts a layer of muck on the road that the grass grows out of, and the drainage needs to be redug and probably rethought about, and I don't really know anything about that. I'll need to look at some YouTube videos and figure out how to do drainage, because this is really dull and boring. But the drainage, it doesn't flow the right way. at the top end of the drive is lower than the middle of the drive, so it just kind of, the water just sits. And in the middle of the drive, sort of a 5 metre stretch that's not connected to anything, it just fills up with water and overflows. We did sit outside last night, we didn't sit inside, we let the fire go out, and we had a fire up at the fire circle there, and we just sat there and blathered. They blathered, I listened and didn't understand anything. That's par for the course. So that's another camp. I keep asking the young folk if they actually enjoy camping, because it's difficult. You want to have a little bit of discomfort in life to remind you to appreciate the comforts that you do have in life, and that's kind of why I think that camping's a good thing to do. We want to try and get people out camping a lot more, because it gets them away from their screens. I was speaking to a neighbour up the valley, and he says they've built a telephone mast up by his house, and he's up kind of around up that way up the valley there. So maybe when that comes online, we'll get some signal here. I'm not keen, but I think for, you know, safety, us being able to contact parents, or parents being able to contact us, that's really important. If you're doing scouty youth work, outdoor stuff, you need to be in touch. I mean, I don't know how we survived in the 80s when we weren't in touch, but we have these things now, and that's, you know, people are used to it. So there you go. So I'm going to take this down, we're going to get tidied up, and then we're going to go home.